So, Tournament of Champions. That's what happened. Well, it's still happening, but, we got all 32 of our matchups now, and I thought, why not? Let's, take all 32 and rank them from the best, or the worst matchups to the best matchups. And, I think this goes to say, it's all my own opinion. This is also kind of just a quickie little video, so I'm not gonna go too in-depth into a lot of my rankings. But, yeah, if you agree or not, that's fine. I don't care. Just don't be a dick about it all. That's all I ask of you. But, like I said, it's gonna be quick, so let's just jump right into the 32nd matchup, which is also the worst matchup. Down at the bottom, we have Monokuma versus Koro Sensei, Danganronpa versus Assassination Classroom. Yeah, I'm gonna have a real unpopular opinion here, but this is my second least favorite matchup of all time. I generally hate this matchup. Also, you'll notice I'll be using some of the official thumbnails, and not for all of them, just the ones I don't really feel like making thumbnails for. But why is it at the bottom? Well, I love Koro Sensei, and I love Assassination Classroom, both my favorite character and franchise, and I'm a good fan of Danganronpa. I would like to see either of these series on the show, and Monokuma is one of my favorites of the series. But I don't really want to see them against each other, considering this matchup is hot garbage. Not only do the connections just suck, they're killer teachers with a smile. Real deep there, and not even fully true, since Monokuma is the principal. And Koro Sensei is not exactly a killer teacher, he's trying to get the students to kill him. So, it's not good. And the dynamic is way worse. You got a character whose whole thing is speed, versus someone who waddles and teleports and is like 1/4 their size. The dynamic here is just bad. I feel like the only reason this gets any push is because funny contrasts and wanting to see these two on the show, and you can do better than that. You really can do fucking better than that. I generally don't see how this matchup got popular. I really don't, outside just wanting them on the show. Yeah, this is easily at the bottom, and it will probably, oh, not probably, it will always be at the bottom of this fucking list. It is a bad matchup. Luke Skywalker versus Saber. Star Wars type moon or fate, whatever. Yeah, this is also... I don't really think this one's bad. I think the only one I'd consider bad was Monokuma versus Koro Sensei. Luke versus Saber, it's just... it's not good. That's basically it. The matchup is just, not good. And that's coming from someone who preferred Vader for Saber, so it's just like... And it feels like I'm being done dirty with this one existing. I feel like if you want Luke in, there's probably a better matchup there. And if you want Saber or just Fate in general in, I think you can do better than this. This one's just kind of a big whatever matchup, really. I don't know. I don't hate it. It's not bad. It's not good. That's just what it is. It's just not good. Percy Jackson versus Zagreus. Percy Jackson versus Hades. This and the next two were really close on what one I had more slightest of interest in, because these are really just, I don't give a shit. So, what made this one go underneath the next two? I don't know. I feel like this one just offers the least for me. Like, it'd be cool to see these two on the show, but I'd rather Percy versus Harry Potter. And Zagreus versus Pitt seems cool. I'm down for Kid Icarus returning. It's been a long-ass time since that series been on the show, so... And I'd like to see Pitt get a more modern rundown. And I'd like to learn about, Hades. And I just feel like this offers the least for me out of the bunch, and, I don't know, I just don't really care about this one. Hulk versus Godzilla. Marvel versus Godzilla. Yep. This is a matchup. I originally thought this was a joke matchup when I first heard of it. I didn't think this was legitimately a thing. The most interesting thing I think I can say about this matchup is that it could have happened back in, like, Season 3 instead of Broly or Doomsday. That's it. I know, like, size dynamic is a case-by-case type of thing. I feel like this one is where it can make it work in its favor, but it could just as easily ruin the matchup. Like, I can see why people like it, I can see why people don't like it. I just don't really care. I don't think Hulk needs a third matchup, but, I mean, it'll be cool to see Hulk get a win. I'm assuming he beats Godzilla here. I don't know what the hell Godzilla gets. And, I don't know if Godzilla really needs a run back. Like, Godzilla vs. Gamera was already a pretty great episode, though it is held back by age. I feel like it gets some cool shots out of this matchup, like a zoom-in shot of Hulk grabbing Godzilla by the tail and spinning him around. I feel like that would be cool, but I don't know, it feels like a lot of the point, like the in-between space from one cool shot to another could look pretty weird, and like, it could work. I don't really think it can, but it would be tricky, and it could just as easily, if not easy, it'd be easier to mess it up. Like, I see the appeal to this. I get why it does have fans. I might just be a not really me kind of thing. Kaisen Ibaraki versus Fleetway Sonic, Toho Project versus Sonic the Comic. Yep, I have a slight more interest in this than the last two. Why is that? I don't know. I even made a thumbnail for this one for some reason. I don't remember why. And I feel like the only reason this got any votes was to get Toho on and to get Fleetway on. Because Toho, that's a series that I see a good amount of people do want on the show. Been pressing for years, and it's weird we haven't gotten a Toho MU. Like, I feel like that would have been something we've gotten way back in the day, when Toho was probably at peak popularity. Though I guess back in the day was different times. And Fleetway Sonic is a character I only know of because of the Death Battle community. So I don't really have any interest in that. I think the only reason this gets above the last two is just because it would be cool to get Toho on. I'm not clamoring to get Toho on, but I don't know, I feel like this would be neat. I am kind of burned out of Sonic, though. We've had it for the last 3 years. I forget we had Shadow on again, because his rundown is kind of whatever. I just remember that episode for Ryuko. But, I don't know, I don't really care for this one. It has its fans, and if it happens, I will be happy for them. It's not like I have a preference for these two anyway. Scorpion versus Wolf, Mortal Kombat versus Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. I don't know what a fucking Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is, but this one has its fans. We're kind of out of the I don't care category, where it's still I don't care, but I have some, like, there's a bit of interest in, I guess, in it. I don't know how to describe it, but Scorpion versus Wolf. It would be cool to see Scorpion get a run back, since his episode was Season 2, and was kind of a pretty forgettable Season 2 episode. I guess that's now an unpopular opinion, but now it's kind of forgettable. So, and since Ryu did get a run back, it would be neat to see Scorpion return, and I would be down to learn about Sekiro. Like, I'm not dying to, but I don't know. The reason why this kind of gets to the bottom of that little area is, I think, just overall the least amount of interest for it. I don't know. Like I said, not a bad matchup. I'm just not really familiar enough with these characters. I know it has its fans, though, and, like, I'd be down to see it as an episode. Like, I have nothing bad about it. I just don't care. Ragna the Blood Edge versus Velvet Crow. Blaze Blue versus Tales of Berserkia. Another one that I know it has its fans. I'm just not familiar enough with these characters. I do think Blaze Blue is long overdue for a run back, especially with the more modern research, and they could probably better explain it. And maybe also not have Blaze Blue be like the first or second of a new researcher's episode. Have fucking mercy. But, I mean, I'm down for a Tales of matchup. I'm more so, like, Tales of Symphonia, that's the only one I'm familiar with. More so its sequel, Down New World, than the original game, but I don't know, I'd be down for this becoming an episode. I'm not clamoring for it, and my lack of knowledge on the two is probably what holds it back the most, ultimately. But, yeah. It'll be neat to see Blaze Blue return, and I'm down to see Tales of Berserkia on, or just a Tales game in general. It has its fans. I can see why just by looking at them, but I don't know enough about the two to get more of an opinion. Composite Ryu versus Composite Goku. I don't know why this exactly gets above the last two. I think it's just because of the idea itself. The compositing is kind of neat, and that's kind of what gets it above it. Also, like, Goku versus Ryu, the fight itself is just held back by how much of a stomp it is and a bit of a dynamic issue. I think with compositing them and all the shit they get from other games like fucking Fortnite, Smash Bros, Jump Force, Battle Cats, I feel like it can make up for it to make a more interesting episode. It would be an interesting debate at the least, because like stats would be equalized thanks to them both being in Fortnite, making it more so just like what other abilities they get in other games. So I'll be down to see it. I'm not really clamoring for it though. I think it's a good idea, but nothing more than that. Not a joke, MU. I was gonna say it's a nice like joke idea, but no, it's not a joke idea. I don't know, like I get it. I feel like it would be neat to see, but I'm more so am just interested in the novelty, and there's probably other matchups that can do the composite idea better. Shulk versus Lightning, Xenoblade Chronicles versus Final Fantasy. I don't know what to say, really, here. I don't know why I put it above the last few, but it's above the last few. I don't know, it'd be neat to see Xenoblade get in. A Final Fantasy that's not 7, that would be cool. I don't know. I don't have much of an opinion on this. Shulk seems like one of those characters where no one agrees really what's his best. Or is that Sora? That might more so be Sora. I don't know. I'd be fine with that happening. That's all I got on this one. Lucina versus Grovyle, Fire Emblem versus Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Yeah. I'm kind of more so leaning Lucina versus Siri and Grovyle versus Hovernyon, but this matchup's fine. I don't really care that much about it, but it's fine. I feel like it would mostly just be interesting to see them talk about a mystery dungeon game instead of a mainline game. It would differentiate more. I've heard that it's better to use Heroes Lucina because of connections, and it's more fair that way. They'll probably just use the one from like Awakenings. I'm pretty sure that's her game, which it makes sense. I don't know, it's a fine matchup. I get it. I wouldn't be against it happening. I know one of the researchers really likes it, and you can tell have been pushing it with some of the episodes this year, like in Kilo versus Misaka and Guts versus Dimitri, having little references to the matchup. I think it'll be fine. That's about all I got on it. It would be a fine episode. I would not be opposed to it happening. I just have like preferences to them both, but the matchup itself, I think it's decent enough to get above the rest. That we're below it. Naruto versus Monkey D. Luffy. Naruto versus One Piece. Luffy's that character no one agrees has the best matchup for. I've seen Naruto, Natsu, fucking Toriko. I've seen I think a Super Sentai character, a Super Sentai or Kamen Rider. I don't remember. Luffy has a shit ton of matchups. The only one I think I really have much interest in is Toriko, even though I know nothing about Toriko. Natsu, I would not be against just to have Natsu return. And Naruto's fine. Naruto is a pretty big classic MU. And I would be fine if this was the Luffy matchup we got. I'm not really clamoring for any of them, so, you know. It's a fine matchup. I can see why people may not like it. I can see why people love it. The waiting period for this one would be god-awful because of the fans' fucking dick measuring contests, but, you know. I am still kind of tired of Naruto, though, so I wouldn't be super pushing this, but it's a fine matchup. Yeah. Skeletor versus Lord Zed, Masters of the Universe versus Power Rangers. I'm gonna have an unpopular opinion here and say I prefer Mumra for Skeletor. Zed's fine. Zed's a fine matchup, but I do kind of prefer Mumra. I don't know, that's really all I have to say about this one. I mean, it's a Skeletor matchup, so it'll probably be a good time anyways. You got fucking Skeletor in it. I would say I kind of hope they would lean more towards that 80s style like they did with He-Man vs. Lion-O, but they would probably go for the more badass one for Skeletor, which is fine. I don't know, it'll probably make for a good episode. It's bound to happen eventually, but it's not my preferred for Skeletor. It's a fine matchup though. Maybe Thundercats can have another chance. Freddy Krueger versus Pennywise, A Nightmare on Elm Street versus It. I've been growing more to this idea lately, but not one I'm super for. I feel like I'd be more down into it if I've read the original It novel and seen more of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. The only one I've seen is Freddy vs. Jason because of a watch party going on the official server. That's the extent of my viewage on that. I have seen It Chapter 1 and 2. I haven't seen the original It movie. But, yeah, I'm not really sure how the fight would play out because of what I remember about Pennywise, but it might just be what I remember. I could be remembering entirely wrong, and there's more that you could do with him. I don't really know. I've not read the original books that apparently gets him to, like, Universal or some shit. I don't know. I'll be fine for this as an episode. It would be neat to get another horror movie character matchup. And after Jason versus Michael, yeah, this does make sense as a natural progression. Yeah, I mean, it's a good MU. That's really all I got on it. Jimmy Neutron versus Dexter. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius versus Dexter's Laboratory. I know I got the characters on here backwards, but this thumbnail is old as fuck, and I don't necessarily feel like remaking this thumbnail. Some of these are going to be backwards. Just deal with it. I'm too lazy to go make new ones. But I have an unpopular opinion in preferring Stewie Griffin for Dexter, but I'm fine with this matchup happening. It is still a pretty good matchup. I'm not pushing for it. I've never really seen Jimmy Neutron outside the movie, so not really any personal attachment to this one like others who grew up on the rivalry. It's a fine rivalry matchup. It is a classic. It's probably the only good, well, one of like a few good Cartoon Network versus Nickelodeon matchups. The only one other than this I can think of is fucking Robot Boy versus Jenny, and that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. So it's fine. It's a good matchup. I have a preference for Dexter, but I'm not opposed to this happening. I already know it's Stewie versus Dexter ain't gonna ever happen. Maybe as a DBX, but probably never as an actual episode. But fine matchup. It's fine. It's good. And nothing more to that. It's a good matchup. The Grinch versus Jack Skellington, Dr. Seuss versus Disney. I hope you are all ready for a lot of repeats in what I say, because this is another one I've been growing to lately, but not to like a massive degree. It is a fine matchup. It is good. It would be interesting to see this. I feel like you could probably make like the animation style be like have the sort of like what they did with Hercules vs. Sun Wukong, where there's a little effect on the sprites to make them look a bit more hand-drawn-ish. I don't really know how to describe it, but I feel like you could do that with this matchup to make it stand out a bit more, and that'd be neat. This would make for a cool Christmas episode, probably as like a penultimate, or just happen in November for that midpoint between Halloween and Christmas. Yeah. I'm not as big into this as other people, but it's still a good MU. Yeah, that's about all I got on this one. X versus Optimus Primal, Mega Man X versus Transformers Beast Wars. I've also been growing to this one lately, and it would be cool to see this. We haven't had a Mega Man episode in a while, and while it's not really a franchise I'm clamoring to see again. I'm not really a big Mega Man guy. The series hasn't been on since Season 6. It's been more than long enough for the franchise to get another episode, and I feel like this would be a cool one. Mega Man X getting a more complete rundown than a half-assed one you have to have with a Battle Royale, so that'd be cool to see. And I'm all for another Transformers episode. especially after Megatron's. Like, that was a really good rundown on how they tackled this character. I would love to see that again. And hey, Transformers Beast Wars, that'd be a cool one to look into. There was a movie that came out this year. Yeah, I feel like this would be a cool episode. I'm down to see another Transformers episode since they've been pretty hit. No misses, really. I'm pissing somebody off by saying there's not been a missed Transformers episode. So, yeah, keep it fucking running with this one. Zeus versus Odin, Greek mythology versus Norse mythology. So, similar to what I said about Jack versus the Grinch of all things, I feel like with this one you can also redo that type of art style with the sprites. And hey, I'm down for another mythology episode. I'm not opposed to that. Zeus vs. Odin feel like it would be a real cool, big, cosmic shaking fight. They could take some of the good ideas from Herc versus Wukong and expand on them to make them better. Like the Celestial fight, you can make it not look like ass and make it so you can actually see what the hell is going on. That would be cool. Another one I'm not as big on as a bunch of other people, but it's still a good matchup, and I would definitely be all for it happening. Yeah, just expand more on the ideas that the first mythology episode had, make them better, and fix the mistakes. That's about all you really need to do, and you got a pretty solid episode. And then going from cosmic shit to street tier shit, Peacemaker versus Soldier Boy, DC versus the Boys. I'd be down for this. This is honestly just a fun matchup. It'd be cool. Just full-blown American gun-shooting fight. I will love that. Seeing a matchup for the boys that doesn't involve the Seven or Billy Butcher would be neat. And Peacemaker would be a character I'd love to learn more about, since my only exposure is the Suicide Squad movie, the newer one with him in it. I'll just be all for this one happening. This seems like a really cool matchup. Yeah, real explosive one. Nothing more. I'm not really familiar enough with these characters, but I would still be down to see this happen. Our only returner from the first poll, we got Kratos versus Asra, God of War versus Asura's Wrath. Since that poll, I have actually beaten God of War 2018, got halfway through Ragnarok, and I still gotta get around to beating it. And I have played Asura's Wrath. I haven't done the DLC yet because I got on the 360, and my 360 is a bitch and won't connect to the internet, so can't download the DLC. But I know more about these characters now, and I can safely say I would be all for this happening. I see this compared to like Dante for Kratos a lot, and I'd be fine with either. I do think both matchups have parts that one shines in while the other doesn't. Personally, I do think Dante offers a better dynamic with Kratos, because it might just be because I've only played 2018, I haven't really looked into the previous God of War games, but Asura's Wrath is big on destruction and on planetary-ish scales. I don't know if Kratos can make that look alright in the animation, because I would want to see destruction on those scales as an Asura episode. I know, like, in lore, Kratos is capable of that, but not through, like, what we've seen on screen. So, I don't know. But, like, Asura, I do think works way better than Dante in terms of its, the characters and their stories themselves. Like, fucking connection-wise, I do think Asura is better. It's more so just that I'm not exactly sure the dynamic can give me what I want for an Asura fight. I don't know, I'm sure big fans of this matchup can prove me wrong, and I'd still be fine seeing it. Like, I got it at fucking, 14? Yeah, I'd be for this happening. It's just like, I'm not sure if I can get exactly what I would wish in the destruction field. It's still a really good matchup, though. Spike versus Revy, Cowboy Bebop versus Black Lagoon. Going once again from Celestial shit to Street tier shit. I'd be all for this. I've only seen like about 6 episodes of Black Lagoon. I really enjoyed what I watched. I just had to sit down for a bit and I didn't get back to it. I haven't seen Cowboy Bebop yet. I want to see Cowboy Bebop though. The original anime, not the Netflix one. I'd be down for this happening. It'd just be like a fun fight. That's all I really got to say on this one. I went from talking a lot in the last one to not much on this. But I feel like the dynamic would be cool. It's just a gunfight mostly, I assume. Banter would be fun. Revy is Spike's kind of woman, so I feel like that'd be cool. Have some interaction there. And it's a cool matchup. I know why. I can definitely see why it has big fans, and it's a classic anime matchup. I would love to see it happen one of these days. Gru versus Megamind. Despicable Me versus Megamind. I'm not as big of this matchup as other people. I still really like this, though. This is definitely a really fun matchup. And it is awesome that Gru now wins. I honestly like the first two Despicable Me movies more than Megamind. I'm going to piss someone off by saying that, but I must speak facts. This is a really cool matchup, and I would be down seeing it. It's definitely a fun one, and probably out of all the matchups here, might have the least material you have to go through. Though there is a new Despicable Me movie coming out, apparently, so yeah. It's a good matchup. It's definitely really good. You got plenty of potential with, like, the banter, the dynamic. It would be cool if you could have, like, a fight between the minions and the droid minion things and Mega Man's head. Probably can't because animation regions, which is perfectly understandable. But this would just be a real cool matchup to see. I would love to see it happen. Yeah, I can definitely see this or Kratos versus Asra winning the whole thing. Unless we can get that surprise victory, which one of the matchups we'll talk about later on, which I would love to see. Hiccup and Toothless versus Hero and Baymax. How to Train Your Dragon versus Big Hero 6. One of the two only good fucking Disney versus DreamWorks movies, the other one being Perry versus Skipper. I like this matchup. It's a cool duo matchup. We haven't really gotten a duo matchup since Season 3. I would prefer if Showtime was our next duo matchup because I absolutely adore Showtime. But this is still a really good matchup, and I would be for this one happening as an episode. It's a bit of a... Is it a rivalry? I'm not really sure if this is considered a rivalry matchup, but it would be so cool to see. I don't really have too much to add for it. I just think this is a cool matchup. You can do a good amount with it. Yeah. Here we are in the top 10 of this list, and we got Palpatine versus Xehanort from Star Wars versus Kingdom Hearts. It's a cool matchup. That's all I got to say. I don't have a lot to say in one that's in the top 10 of this list, but I have that much to say. I would definitely love to see Palpatine in an episode, and learning more about Xehanort would be cool. Liam would definitely probably dress up as Palpatine when recording his lines, because let's be honest, Liam will voice Palpatine. He will kill anyone who tries to voice him instead for the episode. So, yeah. The DBX, while I think was a bit overrated, definitely is a good show point on what is some of the stuff you can do with the matchup for an episode. So I would just like to see us become an episode. Have a more full-fledged budget to go more out with it. And not much more to add. It's just a really good matchup. I'd love to see it. Little Mac versus Ippo. Punch-Out versus Hajime no Ippo. I really just like this matchup. We haven't had a down-to-earth boxing matchup since Balrog vs. TJ Combo. It is the only down-to-earth boxing matchup. So I would love for another one in a Sprite format. Kind of as a spiritual successor. This would just be a really cool matchup to see as an episode. I don't really know much about Hajime no Ippo. I haven't played Punch-Out, but I would still love to see this get an episode. It would be a real cool time. Learn more about boxing in general as this one. I don't really have too much to add, but probably bigger fans of the characters can say. It's just a really cool matchup. I would love to see it. Sackboy versus Maxwell. Little Big Planet versus... I put Maxwell on here. Scribblenauts. This is just a fun time. Because these two can do literally anything, you can have another Bill versus Discord type case with the animation, and I love that. Maybe not to like the reality warping degree that the episode had, But the amount of creativity you can go with this matchup is just French kiss. A chef's kiss, I should say, not a French kiss. We're not French kissing the Sackboy. But this is just a fun matchup. There's so much creative potential with this, because they can make anything. Just the animators can go ham with this one. And I would just love to see this. Like, not more to add. It's just a real fun time. Plenty of creativity to be had with it. What more do you really want? And going from creativity to another creativity, WyE Coyote versus Tomcat, Looney Tunes versus Tom and Jerry. This is just a fun, wacky time. Like, the amount of slapstick you can do, them using a whole bunch of gadgets to try killing each other, use the anti-toon force on that fucking WyE just apparently got. And then just talking about Tom and Jerry would be such a bizarre thing that I would absolutely love to see. Like, this is just a really fun matchup. The amount of wacky hijinks you can go into with it. Again, what more do you fucking want? The Toon Force, the slapstick, just the visual comedy. I would love to see this become an episode. And then one that's gonna piss off a lot of people for having it at, like, fucking number 6. Scott Pilgrim versus Kazuma Sato. Scott Pilgrim versus Konosuba. I like this way more than Kazuma versus Subaru. I find Kazuma versus Subaru incredibly boring. I'm pissing off so many people by saying that. I just gotta be honest here. Like, Scott Pilgrim is a very fun matchup for Kazuma. The only issue with it is just, like, setting it up, because Scott Pilgrim takes place in, like, 2004 or some shit. The early 2000s, while Kazuma, fantasy world, unless, I haven't read all of Konosuba, so maybe he got back at some point. I don't fucking know. Probably not. It's Konosuba. Again, this is just a real fun time. The banter would be really great to see. You got a good dynamic going on. I do have other matchups I like for Scott, mainly Travis Touchdown from No More Heroes, but Kazuma is my preferred for Scott. So, yeah, make this an episode. Apparently the guy who submitted this was a dick and got banned for it. He was shitting on Subaru. So, hopefully it doesn't hurt this matchup's chances. Apparently also a researcher really likes this matchup, so I could definitely see them pushing this to become an episode. And, push away. I really want to see this become an official episode. And with the new Scott Pilgrim anime coming out, maybe there'll be some new stuff to make it more fair. Outside of Continental Scott, which not a lot of people agree with. It's Continental or Country. One of the fucking two. Homer Simpson versus Peter Griffin. The Simpsons versus Family Guy. I love this matchup. Again, this is another, like, type of build chord sort of thing with the creativity. Again, not reality warping, but there's so much you could do with this matchup. Like the cutaways, couch gags, referencing old jokes from the show. Or the shows, I should say. It's a fun time. Like, I just want to say this. Just go, You can also get real life Peter Griffin, the voice Peter Griffin. That would be fucking perfect. I don't know how you can get the voice Homer. There's definitely good Homer impressions out there. But real life Peter Griffin, the voice Peter, do that. Please, God, do that. The stars must align for that. And I really just want to see this become an episode. These two will always be relevant because The Simpsons and Family Guy will never fucking end. So there's always a good time to do this, but I don't think this should be something to be pushed off later and later. Definitely, like, do this soon. Like, maybe the next 2 years. It's such a fun matchup. And it's also a classic. We probably would not have adult comedy cartoons without these two shows, even though, hot damn, the seasonal rot hit these two like a truck. I just really want to see this become an episode. It is such a fun time. Sailor Moon versus Madoka. Sailor Moon versus Puya Magi Madoka Magica. I'm just going to say Madoka Magica. I really, really love this matchup. I've not seen Sailor Moon. I have seen the original anime of Madoka Magica. I haven't really seen the movies or any of the other material outside of it. But I I really love this matchup. I know there's someone in the official server who would fucking explode if this happened. In a good way. Explode in a good way. I know Sailor Moon is that character that no one agrees who is her best. Because she has fucking Saint Seiya, Madoka, Cardcaptor Sakura, Supergirl and Power Girl, Goku. She has a lot of matchups. I do think Madoka is her best though. Like, this is the classic Magical Girl revolutionary matchup. Like, these two are who originally defined the Magical Girl world. Moon setting up the original one that we all know, with Madoka being what kind of changed it to make it more on the darker side of things, which, yeah, there's been plenty of other Magical Girls that take inspiration from these two. It makes sense to have them fight. I know some people take issue with some Madoka on the show because she doesn't have the most screen time of her using her powers, since she doesn't really get her Magical Girl powers until the last episode of the original anime. So I can see why people might take issue, but there are other things like showing her using her powers outside of that, so I think it's fine. And it's not like they've done characters with little source material to work with anyways. Like Tetsuo has like 6 volumes of a manga. Like Monokuma, I don't really know how much Monokuma shows off her capabilities, but still, I think they could make this work. I really love to see this. And I'm surprised we haven't gotten a full-on Magical Girl versus Magical Girl yet. And Sailor Moon, I'm surprised that we've only had Sailor Galaxia on the show. And it took till season 7 to get the franchise on the show to begin with. I definitely really want to see this become an episode. It's definitely going to get demolished in the poll against fucking Grewmind, the other one, and Tom Wiley. But, yeah, I love this matchup. It would be really cool to see this become an episode. Luz versus Anne. The Owl House versus Amphibia. Good God. We're now in the matchups that I would put in my top 10 of all time. With this being about number 8. I fucking love this matchup. I really much love this matchup. If you can't tell. With Owl House ending now, you can do this matchup now. I was kind of thinking we might get this in the latter half of this season. But, you know, I feel like this is definitely something to do sooner rather than later, since rivalry is kind of at its peak right now. So, it makes sense to kind of do this sooner. And, again, I just really love this matchup. And I love the debate history with this one, when it went pretty close once Anne got her first Calamity powers. Then it went to Anne fucking obliterating by the end of Amphibia, to the end of Owl House, making it even again and pretty debatable. I love that. This matchup has such a weird history, and I could not complain. And this is just a real good time matchup. It's definitely it's the modern big cartoon rivalry matchup. It's the one for the 2000s. Like, every generation kind of has their own big rivalry matchup for the cartoons. This is definitely the 2020s version. I know we're not even halfway through this decade, but I don't know if we're going to get something to top this in the year. We might. We honestly might. I shouldn't say that, but we probably could. I know, like, some people do prefer Akko for Luz, but I don't know. I feel like Anne just makes sense. Akko's still good. I do want to say that. I just think Anne's much better, personally. I would love to see this as an episode, and since they are more open to doing 2 cartoon episodes in one season, even though we forced one of them for season 10, I could see them doing this next year, since being on the bracket doesn't 100% deconfirm it, which I think is it kind of devalues them being on the bracket in the first place, but whatever, I don't run the show. So, yeah. So we can still get this next year, and maybe we can also get Showtime with it. That would be awesome. But Luz vs. Anne, I adore this matchup so much. Like, you have so much character potential, like character interaction potential with these two. I hope it does happen. Going from my 8th most wanted to my fucking 4th most wanted, and it constantly jumps between 3rd and 4th between the next one. We got Sans versus The Judge, Undertale versus Off. I may track a track R and a score for this one. I'm doing new shit. Oh, I did for another matchup we'll get to soon. And this is the one I hope kind of makes that surprise victory in the end, because I would love to see this become an official episode. Undertale is overdue. I'm surprised we didn't get Undertale back in like season 3 or some shit. Considering we got Overwatch like not even, I think like 6 months since it was announced, or since it came out. So Sans vs. Judge, this definitely would make sense as a first Undertale episode. And hey, it's not a bad idea to introduce people to Off. Off is a great game that's really only known by Death Battle fans and fans of the indie horror community that have been around for a long-ass time. They are really the only people that know Off, so why not introduce casuals to Off? And you don't even have to worry about the issue of Off being more of a niche game, because you got fucking Sans right there. He's gonna rake in the views no matter fucking what. And he got Sans first in the title. Like, this video is guaranteed to do well with Sans being there alone. So you don't really need to worry about Off being niche. And hey, like I said, this would also be a great way to introduce the series to new fans. Considering they do like doing that, look at Magical Index. And I think they've even said they like to introduce franchises to people who might have not checked it out if it wasn't for Death Battle. This is a great way to do that. And then just the matchup itself is fucking phenomenal. They are very similar. They play very similar roles to each other in the games. Off and Undertale are already compared within the indie game community for these RPGs. It's just a really great matchup all around. This is my 4th most wanted. Like I said, it keeps switch swapping to 3 and 4. And I even submitted this matchup last year in the first roll, like the first wave of submissions. So I would definitely love to see this win and become an episode. It would be so awesome. It would be so cool. It would be the greatest episode. I love this matchup. This is definitely something I hope happens. And now the one I push the most. Ellie versus Clementine. The Last of Us versus The Walking Dead. Even though Clementine versus Ellie sounds better, but this is my 3rd most wanted of all time. I popped off so fucking hard when that was shown in the ballot. I wish it didn't come in dead last, but I really hope that does not deter the team from making this an episode. I cannot express how much I love this matchup. I really can't. Like, Telltale's Walking Dead holds a weird spot in my childhood. I say weird because it probably shouldn't hold a spot in my childhood, considering what the fuck it is. But it does. And I really liked the first Last of Us game. 2 I didn't like, but, you know... You do what you do. And I really like the show from what I've seen of The Last of Us. I haven't seen the last episode because I don't have HBO. I've been only able to watch it during free trials, but you do what you do. I would love to see this become an episode. We haven't had a zombie episode since season 5. That is 5 fucking years ago. I love zombie matchups. I wish they would do another, and Clementine versus Ellie, perfect one. It's perfect to do for another zombie episode. Especially with one of the most known zombie series, The Walking Dead. And there's plenty you can do with this matchup too. You can incorporate some of the Telltale elements and their gameplay, like the quick time event, sort of similar to how they did on Bayonetta's Climax in Dante vs. Bayonetta, where it showed the buttons. You can do the blank will remember that. I would love to see that. And also you can have, like, Clem and Ellie's choices throughout the fight determine how Ellie may go out. Whether Clementine gives her a mercy kill or just leaves her to die. That would be amazing. And you can really have a great emotional death with this one. This is something I'm not sure they would be able to do because understandable budget and time restraints. But I would love for after the kill, Ellie loses. I'm just gonna say that now. The matchup is one of those ones where it's not a stomp, but the conclusion is pretty clear cut and agreed upon. But like after Ellie dies, we get a shot of her maybe seeing the giraffes again in the afterlife, and then we hear Joel say, "Hey there, kiddo," and that would be heartwarming. That would be such a great emotional death. I would love to see it. And like, this is this is probably one of the most grounded match. Well, I shouldn't say that because Spike versus Luffy, and well, no, because Black Lagoon does get kind of anime buck shit with some of its shit. Like from what I've seen at least. But I think this is definitely one of the most grounded matchups here, and you can really play that into the episode itself, making this feel like a fight for pure survival in these apocalyptic worlds. I would love if they had the zombies play into it a little bit, like they have to fend off some zombies, and also maybe zombies could play into the death. Hence the idea of making it a mercy kill or leaving Ellie to die. I love so much about this matchup. I really hope this does happen. And Last of Us is pretty relevant right now. It'll probably stay relevant for a few years, so it's a good time to do it next year, even though it did lose the poll. There is also the Walking Dead comics, but we don't talk about the Telltale Walking Dead comic because they are dog shit. They should just not be included at all because it changes nothing. So, yeah. Just when doing this episode and talk about Clementine's story, end it off with how the fourth game ends. Please, God, do that. I would love to see this become a reality. This matchup become an actual episode. I would probably cry. Please, God, let this happen. And that was 32 matchups, ranked from the worst matchup to the best matchup. Do you agree with me? Good. Do you disagree with me? Good, but fuck you. Kidding. Obviously, I don't feel like I should specify that, but I'm going to. I hope you enjoyed this real quick slap together video of me just kind of doing some quick ramblings, unscripted, just giving my thoughts on all these matchups. I considered doing this earlier, but it was like already week 3 or some shit. I'm like, I'll just wait till they're all out here and do a quick little video on them. Why not? But, yeah, that's about it. Peace!